What's up, kids? Chapter 4 packet I told you about earlier. This is section 1. I'm going to go through section 1, 2, and 3 real quick. On part 1, part 2 will have 4 and 5, so let's get through it quickly. I can't type anything in, so make sure you can kind of keep up with what we're doing here. That way you can write these in, turn them in on Wednesday. Study them Tuesday night, turn them in Wednesday. That way you get to go write your test. Here's section 1. Culture. Total knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors shared by and passed on by members of a specific group. It is not inherited, nor is it genetic. Okay, attitude, knowledge, behaviors passed on from one group or from group to group, from generation to generation. That's culture. Two most important aspects of culture: language and religion. You got to be able to communicate with each other, and belief in a higher power or power of some kind is very powerful within cultural groups. So those are the two most important aspects. Innovation, diffusion, acculturation. All right, they all kind of work together. Innovation is the creation of something new from existing materials to meet a new need. All right, so you have something, you create something new from it to meet a new need. That's innovation. Diffusion is the spread of ideas or the spread of these innovations around the world. That's diffusion. And it diffuses from the cultural hearth. This is basically, this right here, cultural hearth, is where the innovation took place. Diffusion spreads from this area. Goes through word of mouth, advertising, person to person, internet, whatever it is, that's diffusion. Acculturation is when it's a society or a group of people take this innovation, incorporate it into their everyday lives, and makes it part of their normal stuff. Now that's acculturation, taking something and making it your own, basically. Section 2, these are all MDC, LDCs, which we talked about, more developed countries, less developed countries. Birth rate. Birth rate is the people are yelling out there. Birth rate is the number of live births per 1,000. If you're a more developed country, you're going to have a lower birth rate. If you're a less developed country, you're going to have a higher birth rate. Mortality rate is the number of deaths per 1,000 population, or also called the death rate. If you have a high death rate, you'll be LDC. If you have a low death rate, you'll be MDC. Infant mortality rate, one of the most telling statistics about a country, is the number of deaths of children under the age of 1 per 1,000 live births. If you're an LDC, you have a high infant mortality rate. If you're an MDC, it's lower. Fertility rate, average number of children a woman can have in her childbearing years. MDCs are lower, LDCs are higher. Okay. The rate of natural increase is the population growth rate. It's the same thing. You subtract the mortality rate from the birth rate, and this is going to give you your rate of natural increase. The more developed countries have a very slight increase in rate of natural increase. The LDC is growing a larger amount. Population density, we all know what that is. It's the amount of people that live in usually one small area or 1 square mile. It varies over here in MDC, LDC. Carrying capacity, the maximum number of organisms a piece of land can support. Push-pull factors are factors that help determine immigration. Push factors are those that push somebody out. Famine, political oppression, lack of economic opportunity, those things are push factors, getting them out, leaving their home. Pull factors are something that's going to pull you in or lead you away from your home. Job opportunities, personal political freedom, religious freedoms, things like that. Section 3, political geography. When all the power and means of production are held by the government, we're going to talk about what we like to call a communist government. Okay, they own the production of means of goods, factories, businesses, things like that, and all the political power. It's a communist country. A ruling family headed by king or queen. They do share some power, or they don't share some power. Doesn't matter. Kind of depends on what they want to do. That's a monarchy. Constitutional monarchies are where they share power. England will be one of those. Great Britain, sharing power. They have the parliament, prime minister, they have the queen. Number 3 is democracy, when citizens hold power either directly or indirectly. Number 4, an individual holds all the power. We're talking about a dictatorship. 3 geographic characteristics. As far as states are concerned, what makes a state, number 1 is size. And the reason size is important, obviously, you have lots of resources, can help out economics, but it's not always an indicator of power. So make sure you keep that in mind. Just because you have a large country doesn't mean you're a powerful country. Shape is number 2. Some are easier to govern than others. Smaller usually is the easier to govern. The larger, a little bit more difficult. And number 3 is location. Where you're at has a lot to do with your successes and failures, especially economically. If you're landlocked, then you can have difficulties in your economics. You don't have the ability to be right there at the ocean, obviously, to get goods and services or goods shipped back and forth. You have to really work well with your fellow countries around you to help make things easier for you. 2 types of boundaries. There's a natural and an artificial. Natural boundaries are just what they are. Mountains, rivers, oceans, whatever. Okay, and examples would be the Andes Mountains in Chile and Argentina, and the Rio Grande between the United States and Mexico. It's an example of a natural boundary. Artificial boundaries, those are man-made, usually along the latitude, longitude lines. Examples would be the 49th parallel between Canada and the United States, and the other is 38th parallel between North Korea and South Korea. Okay. In the class notes, we're talking about states. Okay, states and such. State is a country, self-governing, constant population, has jobs, has an organized economy, and it's sovereign. They have internationally recognized boundaries. Examples of this would be the United States, France, Russia, Venezuela, and all those type of places. A nation is a group of people that share a common culture, a sense of unity, and usually they live together or near each other. The Cherokee Indians, the Inuits, the Aborigines are all nations because they all have the same kind of culture. A nation state is when you have a nation that also has its own state. Israel, the Vatican City. Okay, those are all places that are nations, but they also have their own state. And the last one, which is on your paper, which is not on here, stateless nation. Those are those nations or groups of people that don't have any kind of state to call their own. They're trying to be sovereign, they're trying to be on their own, but they can't. The Kurds of northern Iraq, western Iran, southern Turkey, things like that, they're a stateless nation. They're a group of people that live together, but do not have the nation to their own. And the last part here, international organizations. First one here is the UN, or United Nations. Peace and security is what they're about. World Trade Organization, which is to help resolve conflicts between group members and reduce taxes. Third one's OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Fourth one's NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, to promote mutual defense and cooperation. To eliminate the barriers and promote fair trade is NAFTA, okay, North America Free Trade Agreement between all of us, United States, Canada, and Mexico. The next one is the Red Cross, and that's to provide worldwide humanitarian aid. The next one is our International Monetary Fund. And the last two, the G8 or Group of 8, which is to facilitate cooperation among the big countries of the world. Here they are over here. And the last one is the Commonwealth of Independent States. That's made up of the 11 former countries of the Soviet Union. So that's the first part of section 1. Kind of flew through it, but at least you have the answers. Write them down, copy them, study them, turn them into Wednesday for a good grade.